The night in Asheville, North Carolina was so still that even the rustling of leaves sounded louder than it should. The Carter family's farmhouse sat in silence, a warm lamp glowing faintly in the living room while the world outside seemed asleep. Then came the sound, 3 sharp, heavy thuds against the front door. The wood shuddered in its frame. Everyone froze. John Carter, tall and broad-shouldered, looked up from his worn armchair, the breath leaving his chest. His wife gasped. Upstairs, 2 children pressed against each other, whispering. The noise came again, slower this time, like someone too weak to continue, but desperate enough to keep trying. John's instincts screamed intruder. He stood, muscles tight, and grabbed the flashlight from the mantel. "Stay here," he told his wife, though his voice betrayed more fear than command. The kids crept halfway down the stairs, wide-eyed. Each heartbeat in the room felt like it was counting down to something none of them could see. When John cracked the door, the beam of light cut through the dark, expecting to reveal a face, maybe a neighbor in distress, maybe a stranger. But the shape before him was wrong, too large, too still. He lifted the flashlight higher, and what it revealed made the air leave his lungs. A lion. Not roaring, not lunging, just standing there, mane tangled, its head bowed low. Blood matted its fur. Its paw rested against the porch like a plea. For a moment, nobody moved. The world seemed to shrink down to the threshold, to that impossible figure leaning on their home. The lion's golden eyes lifted slowly, meeting John's, not with fire, but with exhaustion. Its breath came in ragged bursts, each exhale a shudder. The smell of iron drifted in, blood mixing with the damp night air. John's fingers tightened on the doorframe, torn between slamming it shut or stepping closer. Behind him, his wife whispered, "John!" Her voice cracked like glass.
He turned briefly, and in that instant the lion shifted, collapsing slightly against the porch. The boards groaned under its weight. Fear shot through everyone inside, a silent question burning in their eyes. What if it forced its way in? But the animal didn't move to attack. It only pressed its paw harder, leaving a faint smear of red against the wood. The children clung to the railing, their small faces pale. The boy whispered, "Dad, he's hurt." His voice broke the spell. John's gaze returned to the mangled paw. In the beam of light, something glinted metallic, jagged and cruel, steel teeth digging deep into flesh. A hunter's trap. The realization hit him like a blow. This wasn't a predator hunting them. This was a king brought low, begging for mercy. The lion's body trembled as though every breath might be its last, and yet there was no growl, no snarl, only silence and those heavy eyes locked on the man at the door. The family could feel the weight of the moment pressing down, each second stretching longer than the last. The porch seemed smaller, the night darker, the choice heavier. John's pulse hammered in his ears. Call the authorities and risk their rifles ending this animal's life? Shut the door and let it die alone in the cold? Or open wider, crossing a line that no one sane would ever cross? His hand lingered on the door, sweat running down his back. Then, with a sound almost like a sigh, the lion leaned forward, its mane brushing the threshold, as if knocking one last time. And in that instant, every fear collided with a truth none of them could deny. Something impossible had chosen their door. John's knuckles whitened around the doorframe as he took in the wound. The steel trap clung to the lion's leg, rust biting into torn flesh, each movement tearing deeper. His stomach churned at the thought of the pain that had driven this wild creature to a human's door. Behind him, his wife clutched the children closer, whispering, "It's too dangerous."
Don't even think about it.
Yet the animal made no move forward, only lowered its head, as if surrendering to whatever decision the man would make. The debate ignited in the room without anyone meaning to. "Call animal control," his son urged, voice trembling. "They'll take him away." His wife nodded sharply, her face pale. But in the corner, the old grandmother, her silver hair tied in a bun, shook her head slowly. Her eyes glistened with something deeper than fear. "If you call them," she said softly, "he won't see another sunrise." Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Outside, the lion shifted, its paw dragging slightly as it tried to reposition. The porch boards moaned under its weight, and the entire house seemed to hold its breath. John imagined the rifles, the flashing lights, the shouts of strangers arriving. He imagined blood spilling, not because of the trap, but by human hands. His chest tightened. And then from behind him, his daughter spoke. Just 4 words, but enough to fracture every argument. "He needs our help." The words echoed. John's hands trembled as he grabbed an old bucket, filling it at the kitchen sink. He slid it across the threshold, his heart pounding in his throat. For a moment, nothing. Then the lion lowered its massive head, tongue rasping against the water's surface, the sound harsh and strangely tender at once. With every lap, John's fear dulled, replaced by something heavier: awe. The predator was drinking from their bucket, feet away, trusting him enough to show weakness. His wife cried softly in the background, torn between terror and compassion. John fetched towels, bread, scraps of meat from the pantry. The lion accepted everything, slow, deliberate, careful. It didn't growl, didn't lunge, didn't even bare its teeth. It only watched him, eyes flickering with something that felt almost human. Each gesture of care deepened the bond forming in silence, a fragile thread pulling 2 worlds together.
Just as calm began to settle, the sound of barking erupted from the distance, sharp, relentless. A neighbor's dog. Lights flicked on across the road, faint glimmers piercing the night. John froze, breath catching. If anyone saw, if anyone realized what was happening on this porch, there would be no chance to protect the animal. The lion lifted its head, ears twitching, sensing the danger as keenly as they did. John's wife hissed, "They'll call the sheriff! We can't hide this!" Fear clawed back into the room, wrapping tight around their ribs. The children clung to their grandmother, whose wrinkled hand rested steady on theirs. She whispered, almost to herself, "We were chosen for this moment." The conviction in her voice silenced them again. Outside, the lion shifted closer to the doorway, its mane brushing against the wood, its breath filling the house. The trap rattled with the movement, and the metallic scrape made everyone flinch. John's gaze dropped to the cruel device, blood glistening fresh. If he didn't act soon, infection or blood loss would finish what hunters had started. His chest tightened. He had a choice to make now, one that could either save them both or destroy everything. And as the lion's massive body settled again, pressing against the very walls of their home, John realized the night was far from over. The farmhouse felt like a church that night. Every sound magnified, every whisper carrying weight. The lion lay across the porch, its body stretched in front of the door as though guarding the family it had come to trust. The trap still clung to its leg, but the bleeding had slowed. Inside, no one slept. John sat at the threshold, knees drawn up, watching the animal breathe. His wife lingered behind him, eyes red with worry, while the children drifted in and out of restless dreams on the stairs. Every hour seemed eternal. The grandmother hummed an old lullaby, her frail voice trembling yet steady, a sound too gentle for the brutal night.
To their astonishment, the lion's eyelids grew heavy, its chest rising and falling with a rhythm that matched her song. It wasn't just surviving, it was surrendering to their presence. The sight carved itself into their hearts, a creature feared by all, soothed by the voice of an old woman. When the clock struck 3, John finally dared to inch closer, crouching low. His flashlight revealed what he dreaded. The steel teeth of the trap had burrowed deep, edges biting into bone. His hands shook as he reached forward, stopping just short of touching. The lion's golden eyes opened, locking on his, unblinking. For one terrifying heartbeat, John braced for the strike that would end him. Instead, the animal stayed still. That stillness was permission. He pulled back, unable to force the device open with his bare hands. Instead, he draped an old towel over the wound, pressing lightly, whispering, "Easy, easy," though he knew the words meant nothing. His wife appeared behind him, pressing a flask of water into his hand. He poured slowly, washing away blood and dirt. The lion didn't move, didn't resist. Its body trembled, but it let him tend. That fragile trust weighed heavier than any weapon could. Outside, the night began to fade. Birds stirred, breaking the silence with tentative notes. The horizon bled with pale light, painting the porch in shades of gold. The lion shifted, groaning low as it rose. Every creak of its bones was a reminder of its suffering. The children gasped, clutching at each other, as the massive body towered once more in front of their door. Instinct screamed danger again, but none of them moved. The lion stood tall, mane catching the first rays of dawn, and turned its head slowly. One by one, it met their eyes. The grandmother still humming, the boy clutching the railing, the girl, tears streaking her cheeks, his wife, hands clasped tight in front of her, and finally, John, still crouched on the threshold.
The silence between them was thick, but it was no longer fear. It was understanding. The lion limped to the edge of the yard, every step leaving dark stains in the dew. The family followed to the doorway, watching breathlessly. At the tree line, it stopped. For a long moment, it turned, head lifted, eyes catching the morning sun. That glance carried no words, yet it was a farewell deeper than speech. Gratitude, trust, recognition. Then, with a slow, deliberate step, it vanished into the forest, swallowed by the light of day. The porch remained stained, the towels ruined, the memory eternal. John leaned against the frame, chest heaving, knowing nothing in his life would ever feel the same. His children clung to him, his wife's hand found his, the grandmother's eyes glistened. They hadn't just witnessed survival, they had witnessed grace. And as the last echo of the lion's presence faded into the woods, John whispered to no one in particular, "Sometimes even the kings of the wild come knocking at our door." The words lingered, soft as the dawn. What they chose that night revealed not only what the lion was, but who they truly were.